I was not familiar with Cody Ko. He looks like a classic YouTube fellow, right? We'll look at his channel. He does videos such as his most recent, The Funniest Waste of Money Ever. I'm buying it. Helping our friends find the love button. Sorry, find love on the button. Find the love button is something else entirely. I'm aware of the gunpowder video because I looked at it earlier. All sorts of stuff like this. D'Angelo Wallace has not made an accusation, but has resurfaced, re-amplified accusations made by the N-word girl in a way that seemed like they might be a bit stickier this time. Video has 1,600,000 views.
Someone has been alleging for years now that you, one of the largest commentary creators on YouTube, knowingly committed a crime against her when she was a minor, but YouTubers and viewers alike are ignoring
I presume it's a man. Is it not?
and discrediting these allegations solely because the person making them happens to be an unlikable woman online, Tana Mongeau.
Okay.
And you know that people are ignoring this because nobody
Is it pronounced Mojo?
is working harder to bury the story than you. And you're getting away with it because commentary YouTube has a serious problem. I can't blame any of your viewers or my viewers for...
What is commentary YouTube's? Let's pay attention. What is commentary YouTube's problem going to be?
The reason it hasn't caught on yet, despite all of this, is that none of your friends, nobody on your level, nobody in the commentary niche with enough pull is willing to admit that this situation makes you look terrible.
That's a pretty mild statement. None of them are willing to admit that it makes you look bad.
About a month ago, she hosted a live episode in front of an audience, and the conversation turned to you.
Who's
A month
the
ago,
smallest
okay.
you've ever had sex with?
Oh my god, no one look at me, Cody Ko. I can say that. I was literally 17. I can say that.
This clip started making the rounds, and people were
Okay.
understandably perturbed, because if Tana Mongeau was 17, you would have been 25. So people started speculating, and Tana decided to set the record straight.
I hooked up with Cody Ko when I was 17 and he was 25.
She claims that not only were you fully aware of her
All right.
age at the time, but someone even tried to stop you, and you went ahead anyway.
There was a situation with Gabby Hanna at a playlist live where she pulled him aside and told him like, yo, she's 17. And then we still went and hooked up.
To be clear, 17 is under the age of consent in many states, including Florida, where Playlist Live used to take place. So this
Okay. That's normally a thing that isn't discussed, isn't brought into focus, right? When you have these accusations, normally it's just like, oh, in many places in the US, maybe even most, it's 16. It's 16. But then you never look into exactly where the thing happened and it doesn't come up. Here we have, they were somewhere age of consent is 18. She was 17. Okay.
means that Tana Mongeau is accusing you of statutory rape.
Indeed.
And she's not trying to hide that.
This isn't just some crazy tea. It was a crime.
These recent allegations are bad enough on their own, but there are a couple
Alright.
of things that make them worse still. Things that many people don't know yet, but you
Beyond it being statutory rape, it being Tana makes it count as like bestiality or something as well.
What lends the most credibility to Tana's claims, and what is really the most damning
Most
thing for you,
credibility.
Cody, is a clip that you might not have even seen yet.
Ooh,
See, I read the Rolling Stone
okay,
article,
let's go.
I watched the YouTube videos about this, and they all missed something.
Is this going to be him saying something? What's the juice?
Remember how Tana said that fellow YouTuber Gabby Hanna tried to stop you before everything
a clip of her would be pretty good.
allegedly went down? Well, did you know that Gabby is actually on record telling the exact same story several years ago?
One time, I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older, she's underage, watch it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me. And then he heard that.
This is really bad. People make accusations all the time, specifically regarding things that are very difficult to prove or disprove, unfortunate as that may be. But when somebody makes an allegation and they say they have a witness, and that witness can be found telling the exact same story years before any of this came out, that's not something I can just ignore. In a situation that
So, Lebo Production says no, it's her friend. That bears some consideration. Hex's point also is worthy of consideration in that it didn't specify the name. But I would suggest, in particular, that there's a multi-year gap between Tana mentioning the story and Gabby having described that story without naming someone. And that clip being very obscure as well. So it's not necessarily like she would have seen that clip's out there, right?
cannot be proven, corroboration
It looks Very bad.
By a third party goes a long way, and frankly, Cody, the allegations against you seem to have been corroborated. But instead of researching to find these answers like I did, many of your fans...
I wouldn't go as far as to say they have been corroborated. It seems likely they're talking about the same thing. Based on the circumstances, I suspect they're talking about the same thing. It looks like it. Good chance. Hasn't been explicitly corroborated, though.
and seem far more interested.
Because presumably this is someone who hangs out with YouTubers. She's probably seeing them f underage people all the time, and if she doesn't like that, she's probably stopping them all the time as well.
And attacking your accuser.
I have seen so many comments, but what was she wearing? It's Tana, so who cares? Well, it's Tana Mongeau.
The reaction to this has been unsurprising but incredibly disappointing, demanding proof that they know she can't provide, acting like she's only doing this to gain clout or ruin you somehow, despite the fact that she's never once put your name in a video title over this, or worst of all, implying that a 17-year-old could have truly consented to any of this. But let's be clear about one thing. That is not the case. No amount of retroactive age calculations or what-if scenarios change the fact that what Tana described would be objectively...
This is mixing up issues. The impropriety is essentially denying her the period of protection from adults that she is entitled to as a minor until she is also an adult. This guy is also... he's blending legality and fact of the matter, and that creates problems because he's saying that she could have consented at 17, but it's objectively a crime. Those two don't connect like that, because otherwise you'd have to say, oh, she was in a state where the age of consent is 16, so she was capable of consenting. You make it sound like you're talking about morality or the actual state of things, and then you appeal to legality. These are two different things.
Speaking, a crime. A crime which you've said absolutely nothing about. And even if this wasn't illegal, you remember being 25. You would have known then, as I currently know at age 25, that nobody this age should need an explanation for why a 17-year-old is off limits. Because you remember being 17 too. Now, thankfully, Tana's personal experience with this...
I think 18's a good cutoff for you being an adult.
This isn't one of...
with exceptions for, you know, people who are impaired.
Trauma. In fact, I've seen people defending you by saying Tana said she doesn't care.
Or rather, like, not that someone who's impaired isn't an adult, but the PvP flag goes on at 18, I think is fair. I think 16's a little too young. I think 18's about right. I think the problem when you start going higher and higher is that you're denying someone freedom, right? The risk, the higher you go with when someone is no longer a minor, is that you're going to be denying someone freedom they should have as an adult. And then the risk of going lower is you're denying someone protection they deserve as a child. So I think you go with a minimum period of entitlement to protection from adults. And I think 18's pretty good.
So why should any of us care? But that's not exactly what she was saying.
I don't associate or hold it with trauma because I am such a comparative person where I'm like, so many worse things have happened to me.
And even if something isn't consciously internalized as an identifiable source of trauma...
And then you get problems as well where someone will hit that age and they haven't been guided, educated, raised properly, and they lack the things they need for it. But I think you solve that by working towards making sure people are given the mentorship and whatnot they need to have had the chance they deserve by the time they hit 18. If someone's impaired after the point of 18, they get special stewardship, right? They don't fuck retards, right?
The body keeps the score.
I know things manifest in ways other than me directly feeling them. Like maybe I don't feel traumatized in certain aspects from certain things, and other things I do. But, you know, maybe they just manifest in ways other than directly feeling.
The answer to why any of us should care is that a person has tried to come forward about her experience and has been met with the most vitriolic victim blaming.
Mentorship is not the word. I don't mean like the gay mentorship, right? I mean having actual role models and guides in your life.
I've seen in years. She's been dismissed, discredited, and disbelieved before anybody ever gave her a chance. Because it's Tana, which sets a horrible...
Like, you should understand that that's what's occurring. You hitting that point is you becoming an adult, or rather, losing that protection. I feel like a lot of people don't even view it as them losing that sort of stewardship of adults. and becoming someone who is in the position to observe that with regard to people who are below that point.
Precedent that if a person runs out of goodwill, they lose the right to come forward with their experiences.
The most traumatizing thing of all of this really was seeing how many people like
Education isn't enough, I would suggest.
don't believe people or don't believe me. I feel so bad for all of these young girls because then they see that and then it
Like, I think you need a figure, ideally a parent, to consistently guide you.
makes them not want to come forward.
And you, Cody, are part of the reason she's been met with this reaction. Your status as one of YouTube's golden boys has made it
I'd say that's more than just education.
possible for you to ignore a situation that almost anyone else would have had to respond to by now.
I know for a fact if you swapped out Cody Ko with someone that like people didn't like that much, I would be receiving so much.
Stop being too vague. Moral guidance. Children should have moral guidance and should understand the responsibilities they'll be taking on as they reach adulthood. What the f do you mean? There's nothing wrong with saying that. I'm not saying any sex stuff. I'm not saying your dad should f you. Like, what do you think I'm saying?
More sympathy.
I find your silence on the situation to be uncomfortable because I know that if Tana's allegations are true, then silence would be your only option, since telling the truth would be tantamount to confessing to a crime, and lying would put you at risk of being contradicted by a witness. And like I told you at the beginning, I'm not accusing you.
This D'Angelo fellow is Phoenix writing a bit too hard. He could lie and then say she's a dumb lying bitch who has it out for me. Regarding the witness, he could go they're friends. His behavior is not bound by these rules of logic. He could lie and then say they're lying. There is also that option
Of committing a crime. But even if what Tana says is false, your silence is still grossly incompetent at best. Why are you choosing the path that would be your only option if you were guilty? Now, some seem to think
No. If someone accuses you of shit you didn't do, and you are in media, you probably understand that giving that air is gonna convince a bunch of people that you're a rapist. So, as someone falsely accused, you want to avoid that. It's not only if you're guilty.
that you're not obligated to speak up, and maybe
Why are you pleading the fifth? Guilty.
that's what people around you are telling you as well. But from one creator to another, you absolutely have an obligation to, at the very least, call out the misogyny, the victim blaming.
Shut the f up. This is cancer.
And all manner of cognitive dissonance that's coming from your audience in the name of defending you against allegations that you're too cowardly to address. And to be clear, this is cowardice because you demonstrate it whenever there's controversy afoot. Tana's further claims make it sound like you're terrified.
I said
I can't believe this video is made by my rapist.
something about it online. And
Address it now!
And he texted me like, "Are we good?" And was like, I said, "Yeah." And like, he was like, "My wedding's
Does he have a light lisp? It sounds to me like a jaw issue, a jaw mobility issue.
coming up."
You do have a history of making bad choices when you're terrified of people finding things out.
Oh.
Like your history of using slurs.
5 nigga, 6 nigga, 7 nigga, 8 nigga, 9 nigga.
There's more clips than that.
Said the N-word, must f kids.
But the reason most people are blissfully unaware of them is because you posted your vague apology not on Twitter, not on YouTube.
Yeah, Hex, rhetorically, very ineffective. Makes it look suspect when you're trying to back up an accusation that he did one thing with something in an entirely different category. Even if you agree with this and you're like, ooh, he should never copy what he hears in a song. Even if you agree with that. The inclusion of that here to bolster this? Ooh.
But on Patreon, despite acknowledging in your apology that the clips were surfacing on Twitter. This is one of many examples of your poor
That's bad PR. Right?
handling of controversy.
Well, is it though? No, because it worked for him. No, that works, right? He minimized increased exposure, apologized to the people who are giving him money. No, that's like probably... No, I take it back. That's probably right. That's probably what you do.
Not many people know that you've already lost fans over an eerily similar topic. You used to frequently feature and promote your college friend Colby Leachman in your videos until it came out that during your school days, Leachman's university put him on probation for, as a United States District Judge would later put it, the non-consensual videotaping of a sex act with another student, showing the video to other people, lying to the
Right, and the problem is he got rid of this guy.
Police about the video and behaving horribly to that individual and at least one other woman. To make matters worse, the woman in the video also alleged that Leachman drugged her before the recording.
Stop! What's Cody's involvement?
And that she hadn't actually consented to anything at all. You had this man in your videos. You were telling us to follow him on Instagram. And at some point, you did wise up, so he's no longer part of your content. But
okay, yeah. You included him in your content, you became aware of his history, you cut him out. Now, you still hang out with him. I feel like part of the reason you have the legal system is so that justice is served, and you don't have, like, lynch mobs, total social ostracism, so on and so forth.
he still seems like he's very much a part of your friend group. From the continued hangout since then to inviting him to your wedding.
This would be so much stronger if stop here. Like, stop here, about here.
People are under the impression that you're best friends with someone who, at best, committed an illegal sex act and at worst is an alleged rapist. And no matter how many times people rediscover this information over the years, you refuse to say anything at all. You could clarify this, but you won't. But now your cowardice has reached a...
Make a statement on being personal friends with a rapist who you have explicitly not included in your broadcasts, so not exposed to a wider audience. Are we saying, Cody, you have a responsibility to further grant him exposure on your channel by mentioning him?
A new low. You've tried speaking and you've tried silence, and now you're choosing censorship. On your YouTube channel, where you've been pumping out content nearly every day now, I couldn't find a single comment on your last video about this situation. Not even one. Comparing that to the comment section on your Instagram, where every single comment I saw was about this, it's clear that you're heavily censoring your audience on YouTube. But surely you must have realized the limits by now, since people...
I feel like the good odds he's using the word filter functionality.
Have just transferred the conversation over to your wife's channel. The fact that her comment section is overrun due to your decision to stay silent about this should be all the proof you need that that decision was wrong.
What? That you doing us led to us going for your wife should let you know that you did something wrong. Why couldn't the conclusion be that should let you know you should have warned her to apply the word filter to her channel too? Maybe something like that. Why is this the conclusion?
At this point, your silence and censorship are a response with disturbing implications. The only thing that I've seen this hidden portion of your audience asking for is the truth. So why aren't you...
All they've asked you to do is amplify an accusation that you're a rapist. This is irrational, right? I find clip of Tana, clip of her buddy from well before she mentioned it. Ooh, that's suspect, right? Ooh. This is full retard. Why wouldn't you want to amplify an accusation that you're a sex criminal? If it's not true, why don't you just give it loads more attention and say you didn't do it?
Telling it. And your silence isn't the only one that's bothering me either.
All these Reddit threads, like if my name's on any thread, it's all getting deleted.
I witnessed the heavy-handed moderation of your subreddit in real time as I researched this video. I would refresh the page and posts would suddenly be unapproved by moderators after racking up hundreds of comments, removed because they could, quote, instigate drama, or more commonly, just locked and or removed with no reason given whatsoever. I'm sure whoever is doing this thinks they're helping you, but...
So, I strongly doubt D'Angelo is an anti-censorship individual. I imagine there are things that would get you deleted from places D'Angelo controls. Perhaps I'm incorrect. And I will bet that this is being used solely as, if he's deleting it, that's proof he must have done it. I doubt this is a standard D'Angelo genuinely wants and is just using it to be useful. If you delete stuff people say about you, it adds weight to the accusation. I don't know if that's a standard you want.
You should probably tell them that they're making things look 10 times worse. But it's not just your moderator.
Cucked out, cowardly. Oh, that looks worse. That looks worse. Not saying I suspect that means it's true. Just it looks bad.
It's your friends and fellow YouTubers too. It's no coincidence that with the exception of the H3 podcast, I haven't seen a single channel over 1 million subscribers do so much as acknowledge that this situation exists. And I'm not talking about channels that never would have discussed something like this either. You can't say it's because the allegations are unconfirmed, because the channels that I'm talking about discuss rumors all the time. And this video is all the proof you need that there's still plenty to discuss even without making definitive statements. The general public may not know about the situation, but I promise you, anyone who's online enough to run a YouTube.
This is probably the best though. This is the best one. I'm presuming that is a manipulation of people. This is to get the viewers to go, oh, if someone doesn't cover this now, they're a rapeoid. Presumably that's D'Angelo's strategy to taint you as like a child rape supporter if you don't cover it. So this is to get people to cover it. But then the strategy is also to say, ooh, and it's good content.
YouTube channel does.
The amount of people in this industry who like want to protect him and are like talking to me in a way where it's like they, you know what I mean? Like, or even just friends like, but I love him.
The community's silence on this has been so staggering that people are now saying that commentary YouTube is a poison, aka a male-dominated space that mistreats women while enabling and protecting men. And the truth is, Cody, whether you
Damn. There's never any drama about the mistreatment of women by male YouTubers that's amplified by the commentary community. Never. Never ever. Never happens.
you're guilty or not, you are being enabled to ignore this and protected from having to respond as an act of misogyny towards Tana Mongeau.
Whether you're guilty or not, you're being enabled to ignore this. Even if you didn't do anything, you're being enabled to ignore an extremely serious false claim of statutory rape against you. This is an insane statement. Why would you say this?
To ignore this and protected from having to respond as an act of misogyny towards...
Protected from having to respond as an act of misogyny towards Tana. This is like, hey, maybe I did sell a 10-year-old HRT with dog hair in it, but the evidence was on Kiwi Farms. This is, yeah, maybe you are being falsely accused of a serious crime, but the people helping you not have to address it are misogynists. No, doesn't matter. Not his problem.
It's Tana Mongeau. We both know that on our side of commentary YouTube, any man can easily elevate himself by dunking on misogynists in his content and espousing a generally feminist viewpoint.
Sorry, in the boys club. The male chauvinist, misogyny dunking boys club. What am I listening to?
But if that viewpoint turns to silence, the moment a situation is no longer cut and dry, then that viewpoint was a brand strategy.
D'Angelo has accidentally described someone holding themselves to an ethical standard in coverage. If they're only making bold statements about things that are cut and dry and not commenting on grey area stuff, that could be actually an indicator that they hold an ethical standard in their coverage. You know, to not spread gossip, to not risk harm when there's uncertainty, to not, you know, go out of their lane into an area that probably deserves an approach that's more akin to investigative journalism. Yeah.
Not a belief. The misogyny that we should be discussing is right here in the community, yet the only thing I'm hearing is a bitter, hollow silence. One that you have the power to end. I said it in the beginning, I said it in the middle, and I'll end with this. One person's testimony does not give me the right to accuse you of doing anything illegal, but I can point out the facts.
But I can heavily imply that the people not talking about it are in on a conspiracy of silence to protect the kid diddler. Come on.
If you have a side of the story that we're missing, then tell it. If I have my facts wrong, say something. Nobody should ever be denied the right to tell the truth, no matter what. I'm sure we can all agree that everyone should have
We need to get rid of the right to remain silent.
Have the right to speak their truth. But that's exactly why I couldn't just sit here and watch the whole world tell Tana that it doesn't apply to her. Regardless of the truth of the situation.
I agree. She should be allowed to say it. Should be fine. I also agree that the people shitting on her should be allowed to shit on her. That's not like stopping her. I don't know what
the right to speak their truth. But that's exactly why I couldn't just sit here and watch the whole world tell Tana that it doesn't apply to her. Regardless.
Are they removing it from her though? It's just their opinion.
Of the truth of the situation, I'm just so disappointed either way. That is all. Goodbye, Cody.
Goodbye, Cody. Damn. Well, Cody actively hiding it and deleting the comments is the most disgusting thing. It's pretty disgusting if he's guilty. What if he's not guilty? Are you still disgusted? Are you still disgusted? True, you're not wrong. Also, yes, you would think that the statutory rape would be the most disgusting thing. Putting an apology behind a paywall is insanely bizarre and ignorant. 5.9k. These are morons. He's not going, if you want my apology, you have to pay. It's, I apologize to the people who are directly financially supporting me. Do you understand? You can disagree with that, but this motherfucker is too dumb to understand what's happening. So he's letting his wife get the hate he deserves. So we're shitting on his wife and he still won't do what we want. What a bad guy. Idiocy. This is a terrible comment as well. The way people just go, it's Tana, why should we care? It's so disgusting. I'm not a fan of her either, but Cody committed a crime. So your problem isn't the actual situation. Your issue is the state it was committed in. This is horrible rhetorically. What are you doing? Being with anyone under 25 is nauseating to me. The twist? This was posted by a 13-year-old. Yeah, that was a Tana post. Being with anyone under 25 has always been disgusting to me.